Welcome back. You're watching the results of the India Today Group Mood of the Nation opinion poll. We've looked at the report card of the Modi Sarkar. We've seen what people think of Rahul Gandhi's leadership style. I now want to focus on the key battleground states where assembly elections will be held over the next few months. And we're starting now with Maharashtra. Remember here, we're looking at numbers for the Lok Sabha elections only. So we're asking people, who would you, this is not an assembly election poll, and we don't want to fool you by saying that it is. However, it gives you a sense of the mood in the ground. When people were asked who they'd vote for, and when our pollsters converted those into seats, here are the numbers, and to my mind it is very significant because this shows, GVL, pay attention, that the NDA, that's the BJP and the Shiv Sena in Maharashtra, is coming down from 42 to 30, a loss of 12 seats for the NDA. The UPA seems to be gaining some ground, up from 6 to 17. That's a gain of 11. Now you can like these, you can dislike these numbers, you can debate them, but so far, GVL, you've been happy with the numbers. So now you can't say that this particular one you don't agree with. But Dr. Lahiri, what could possibly explain Maharashtra at a time when Prithviraj Chavan's government is in a big mess? He got booed when he was standing next to Modi. How is it that the NDA style is actually coming down? What could explain this?
See, one immediately obvious thing that stands out is the demise of Mr. Gopinath Munde. Mr. Munde is not there, and Mr. Gadkari is at the center. So it could be a leadership vacuum. It could even be something to say about the Shiv Sena. I don't know what proportion of this is because of BJP's vote share loss or because of Shiv Sena's vote share loss. But this needs to be studied because it's completely
what could explain
different from...
To my mind, there's a very simple explanation. These numbers represent a decline for the NDA compared to the Lok Sabha elections.
Yes.
For the reason that this is the straight BJP versus Congress or NDA versus UPA fight, with the Modi factor not being the dominant factor, right? The Lok Sabha election was fought entirely on the personality of Narendra Modi. This election, clearly the personality of Modi is not going to loom as large or be as dominant. So I would look at these numbers as what perhaps the 2014 Lok Sabha election might have been for the NDA
if Modi had
not had such a dominant
Professor
position.
Yogendra Yadav, what's your sense of what the numbers from Maharashtra are suggesting? Why is the NDA crashing by 12 and the UPA between May and now gaining by 11? What could explain this, sir?
The Lok Sabha election was a very, very unusual verdict for Maharashtra. It's coming back to normal, but do remember the NDA still has a very clear advantage. I don't think there is a huge popularity swing at stake here. The reality of the state, as J.V.L. Narasimha Rao pointed out, leadership difficulties, Shiv Sena role, some things are changing. But as you correctly and fairly pointed out, it's not focusing on assembly election vote share. What we do know is compared to Lok Sabha election, assembly election verdict tends to be a little more fragmented, big parties get a little lesser share of votes. So as of now, we can say Congress, NCP may have a slight hope. But at the moment, they still are trailing substantially behind the BJP Shiv Sena
what could explain the change?
That's all we can say, but it is a fairly limited thing.
I would imagine that without the crescendo and the high-octane campaign of Modi actually on the ground, this probably reflects, as Siddharth said, a more normal election. And I would also not be surprised if the actual vote share difference between 2014 and this one is actually very small. You've seen probably seen small shifts in vote, and especially in areas where, let's say, Sharad Pawar's bastion. Many of those seats were lost by the NCP, right? I would imagine in a more normal election or opinion poll, he would consolidate that by just simply regaining some small votes. So I would imagine the vote difference is actually very small between actual 2014.
Let's come now to Haryana, and because Haryana is also where elections will be held soon. That again is where the BJP did really well in the Lok Sabha elections. What does the Hansa opinion poll predict for Haryana? The BJP had won 7 seats. The NDA had won 7 seats. That tally is now going up by 1. That's gone up to 8. The UPA was at 1. So even Dipendra Huda's seat is gone. The losing Rohtak is well down to 0. The INLD is at 2, which essentially means, Dr. Lahiri, that goodbye Bhupender Hooda. He got booed when he was standing next to Modi, and this poll suggests that they're romping home to power, or could romp home to power, because there's no way you can turn this 0 into 8. The gap between the BJP and the Congress in Haryana is huge.
This is a repeat of what happened in Gujarat, where they swept all the 26 seats. And the ground level, I think, the impression that I gather is BJP is riding high in Haryana. So what stands out is the difference between Maharashtra and Haryana. Perhaps, as Siddharth said, that Haryana is close to Delhi. So the Modi wave is still more powerful there. I mean, Haryana is more
one
exposed
interesting thing also is that Amit Shah met with Kuldeep Bishnoi, doesn't want the Bishnoi vote to get divided, and therefore wants the HJC on board as well, which is why they're getting 8. So the BJP is being very strategic about it. They don't want to fight alone. They want
the BJP is the dominant player now in the Haryana election.
No, but you could have gone alone as well.
It wants Bishnoi as a smaller partner.
I know, but they could have gone alone as well. They could have said, I will risk this. I will fight by myself.
It is possible.
But he met him just yesterday, and attempts are on to ensure that they fight together. Why is the BJP doing that? If you're so confident, these numbers could possibly suggest you can pull this out by yourself.
No, possibly BJP, if a respectable arrangement does not come about, and if the number of seats that the ally wants is something that we are not prepared to really part with, I think even party might consider going alone. But certainly the party would like to continue with all its existing partners, but have a reasonable and a fair share. Even look at the results of Maharashtra. The BJP's contribution and Mr. Modi's contribution to the success in Maharashtra is far greater than Shiv Sena's contribution.
That's not what the Shiv Sena thinks. That's what you'd like to believe. That's what voters
That's
might
the reality.
Well.
That's what people would have told you.
Uddhav Thackeray about that. That's when we'll have this conversation again.
But Rahul, if I could just point out here, the Congress, whatever happens, whatever the BJP and its allies may or may not do, the Congress is set to lose 2 of its most important states.
Absolutely. And I want to get in Yogendra Yadav because he comes from Haryana.
In Maharashtra, what my brother is saying absolutely is correct. In fact, Maharashtra definitely they are going to gain much better because Shiv Sena is on the down line, whereas BJP would maybe doing much better than this.
Yogendra Yadav comes from Haryana, fought from Haryana, and I want your sense of the Congress losing in the Hooda bastion as well. Do you believe, sir, that if you were Amit Shah at this time, do you think he would risk fighting by himself just by the BJP in Haryana, or do you think he needs Bishnoi support?
I don't think like Mr. Amit Shah, so I'm probably not the right person to guess that. But you see, I think the real important political question is this: whether the poll indicates that BJP on its own in an assembly election can secure a majority. This poll is only about Lok Sabha election, and it assumes that NDA continues, which is to say HJC and BJP continue. The important political question is what if they come apart? And secondly, every opinion poll for Haryana and every election in Haryana has shown that BJP's performance in an assembly election is substantially lower than its performance in a Lok Sabha election. Now, once you take these 2 factors, where is BJP placed? That's the real question that's being debated. So I would take the finding of the poll with these 2 caveats.
Okay.
But one thing is absolutely clear: Congress is headed for decimation. There's no two opinions about that.
Let's move on to the other big state, and I now want to shift our attention to the crucial battleground state of Bihar. Assembly by-polls were held today. We've seen an unprecedented alliance where you've got Lalu, Nitish and Rahul Gandhi fighting now on the same ticket, all in an attempt to stall and stop the Modi wave. But what do respondents in Bihar think? Well, the Modi juggernaut is getting stronger. From 31, they've gone up to 34. That's a gain of 4 seats. Out of the 40, picking up 31 is a very impressive performance by the NDA in any case. That performance likely to get better. And despite the fact that you've got Nitish, Lalu and Rahul Gandhi on the same ticket, they're coming down to less than half of what they picked up in the assembly elections. And on that note, I want to introduce Ajay Alok from the Janata Dal United, who's joining this broadcast, and I'm sure will not be pleased about the results at all. Ajay, you put together this big alliance, you thought you'll consolidate the opposition vote, but the Modi juggernaut seems way strong for all of you together.
Rahul, it seems to me that you have already made up your mind and the answer is very clearly written on your board. So what's the point of my responding to it? So I think we should better wait and see the results happening on 25th. If the same that what the people decide for us, if that is the fate, who can stop it?
Ajay, that's a political response to a cephalogical question. However, the reality is, and I want Siddharth Varadarajan's take on this, that any logical response would be that the moment you consolidate the opposition to Modi in a state like Bihar, where there's a huge dominance of Muslims, you've also got Yadavs in high numbers. If they continue to vote for Lalu, you bring in the vote, the MDC vote, that the Kurmi Kori vote that Nitish Kumar had, they would do much better than this. Instead, Modi is decimating opposition. What do you make of this?
Well, if the numbers are correct, and if it's a true representation of reality, it's surprising from a political point of view at one level, right? One can think of sort of statistical or other kind of explanations, moral explanations, that the voters of both Lalu and Nitish get fed up about the cynical patch-up that's happened and say, to hell with you guys, we're going to go with Modi. You can construct various explanations for this. But my sense is that the results from the by-elections are going to surprise us. Congress is not a factor.
What do you think is happening?
No,
we'll call you back on the show on Monday.
Yeah, my sense is that the JDU, my sense is that the Nitish Lalu alliance will actually won't perhaps deliver as well as they think it will, but certainly it will make a BJP sweep.
But that's not happening in these numbers, Dr. Lahiri.
Which is why I have a doubt about these numbers.
What could explain that?
As I said, the explanation, if it doesn't happen that way, is that votes don't transfer, right? So Nitish's voters say, this is too much. For the last 10-15 years, he spent his entire time attacking Lalu. Now we're being asked to vote for a joint candidate.
But there isn't just that.
Yeah.
So the reality is the Yadavs in Bihar have been very unhappy with Nitish's handling of them. Right? Now suddenly you say the Kurmis, the Koris and the Yadavs are all together. The Yadavs don't particularly like that. And there have been problems also with the Muslims who the Nitish government has been reaching out to. The Yadavs therefore are feeling alienated and have joined hands with the BJP. At least that's what happened in the Lok Sabha elections. What do you think explains these numbers?
I think Siddharth already said that the votes are not transferable. When you have an alliance of parties, 2 plus 2 may not be 4. 2 plus 2 may turn out to be 3.
But this is 2 plus 2 becoming half.
Becoming half. So what is happening is exactly what you're pointing out, that votes are not getting transferred. Mr. Lalu Prasad Yadav can join Nitish Kumar, but that doesn't mean that Yadavs will vote for Nitish Kumar's party or candidate. The second thing is, I saw some report where the younger guys, the Yadavs even, they don't care for caste. They are again for development. So if the RJD-JDU alliance promises better development than BJP, they will vote for them.
No, but Yogendra Yadav, Bihar is a test case in my view for what might happen across the country over the next few months. If Nitish, Lalu and Rahul together are able to stall the Modi wave, then it could push Mulayam and Mayawati in a direction where even if they don't want it, they could come together. But this poll seems to suggest instead of being able to hold on to what happened in May, that tally is crashing. What do you think explains that, sir?
In one way, it may be a test case, which is, can you resist the BJP by putting together all the remainders? Bihar seems to show that putting the remainders together doesn't quite work. 2 and 2 does not add up to 4. It probably adds up to 2.5 or something of that kind, and that could well happen. It may also be the case that we are judging it too soon. The alliance has taken place at the level of leaders. It hasn't taken place at the level of workers. It's only workers and voters. It's only in and through an election campaign that these things consolidate. So we are probably judging it too soon. But if we see that what Siddharth is saying doesn't happen, if we see that BJP is able to perform very well in the by-elections as well, then the strategy of opposition unity will have to be rethought. What we need is not opposition unity. What we need is genuine opposition, even if provided by one of them or provided by new force altogether. I should in parenthesis say that, Rahul, although this is not the right place, that if I look at your table, the only place outside Maharashtra where the NDA is actually losing is Delhi. where
So
Aam
let's
Aadmi
not get
Party
ahead
is
of ourselves.
actually
You're giving
increasing
away our
its vote
surprise.
share.
I don't want you to go on anymore. I will come back to
I may not be on the show at that point, so I just
we're
wanted
coming
to
back
say
to you
that.
in just a moment. Delhi is coming up very soon. Ashok Malik, what explains this? Dr. Yadav says that 2 plus 2 may not become 4, but it's definitely going to become 2.5. In this case, 2 plus 2 somehow seems to add up to 1.
You see, you use another old cliche in politics. Politics is not just about arithmetic, it's also about chemistry. If you look at the 10 by-elections in Bihar, I would be very surprised if the BJP didn't win at least 6 or 7, frankly. I'll tell you why I believe that. Because Nitish is the biggest loser of this consolidation. Lalu has a very strong Yadav vote. Some of it may go to Modi, but much of it is still with him. He also has a strong Muslim vote. There's no question about that. Nitish has a very small vote. Kurmis are a very, very small community.
2.5%.
They're very small, 3% or 2.5% in Bihar. He was very dependent on the RSS and BJP foot soldiers when he was tying up with them. He will be overly dependent on Lalu now to win him seats. So Nitish doesn't really bring anything to this alliance. It becomes a BJP versus Lalu fight, where at the moment the numbers are in the BJP's favor.
Ajay Alok, the alliance is between leaders, not between cadre, and hasn't reached out to people just yet.
First of all, let me clarify that this election is not about the caste arithmetics, what your analysis is being done about. That Nitish does not bring, and Kurmis are in a very low number. Nitish Kumar here does not represents only Kurmis in Bihar. That's a misnotion about him. First of all, let me tell that if this election is about governance and if this election is about development, Nitish Kumar Dai stands the model. Secondly, Bihar BJP does not have any credible leadership which can compete the challenge thrown by Mr. Nitish Kumar or even Mr. Lalu Yadav. Mr. Sushil Modi or Nand Kishore Yadav does not have that kind of a stature in the state that they can stand in front of them.
So, Mr.
Number
Nitish
two,
Kumar,
this election is not about the Lok Sabha election. This election is about Bihar. This election is about sending the message all across the country, which we have done by forming and stitching an alliance. Now, what happens with this alliance? The results are there for to see everyone on 25th. But this notion that Nitish only represents the Kurmis, which represent only 1.5% of the population, does not augment well. Because if that is the case, if you go by the caste analysis, well then when Mr. Modi just has not even 1% in Gujarat, why is so popular all across India?
So
let's
going
not
by
about
the
talk,
same
we're talking
analogy,
about peace and development. Yeah.
no, taking this forward,
When we are talking
I
about
think his
development,
analysis
Bihar
that
stands a
BJP
model
does
all
not
across
have
the
state
country.
leadership is completely bogus. We have very prominent
BJP does
popular
not have a
leaders,
state leadership.
and we
It's a
have won. Our
well-established
success
fact.
rate in Bihar
I don't
has
think the
been greater
Janata
than
Dal
that of
United will determine whether the BJP has leaders or the BJP will determine whether Nitish has done a good job. That's why
But
you've
Nitish
got
Kumar, having
voting machine, and that's
if there
something
was-
voters will decide.
If there was one party, if there was one leader who lost his shirt in this election, who lost everything in this election, it is Mr. Nitish Kumar. He could not even continue as chief minister. In a way, he has surrendered his own leadership position. He cannot
No, all
tomorrow.
you can say
he
he's the
cannot
only
tomorrow,
one
no,
who
he
had the
cannot be
moral
face of
courage
the
to
party.
stand up and say,
And then-
even
and then-
if I
and then align
lose,
with-
I will stand
the
up in
people.
what I believe
And
is
then,
right.
and then align with Lalu Yadav, a man with whom you fought for
That's
20
an important
years.
point.
And then
because
you have been
any
calling.
talk of morality, Ajay Alok, that
have
Nitish
also
might
aligned
have
with the
about him
Congress.
being a man of
Why don't you
principles
mind that?
is decimated
It's
the
not only
moment the
alliance with the
BJP
Lalu Yadav.
suggests. But then you went and tied up with the man you said ran a jungle Raj for 15 years.
That is the only agenda they are coming up with in this election. They don't have
Well, that's
anything
an
to say
important
about
agenda which
development.
you're
They
not
don't have
answering by
anything
trying
to
to
say about
deflect.
what the promises they made during Lok Sabha.
A big reason.
Okay, I don't
One
want to make
point,
this a
one
political
point.
debate. I need to
A big-
move on. There are lots of states
a big-
that I need to cover.
You
Kamal
mentioned-
Faruqi,
You
yes.
mentioned about UP, so I just want to make
No,
one
we haven't come to
no,
UP.
no, just
A
want
big
to
Don't
make
bring
reason.
my numbers till
very
I
small
get there.
point. This Bihar would be very, very important, not only from the Bihar point of view, but also from the UP politics.
That is interesting and that is important. Let's play out now the results for Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, and let's see whether, let's start with Andhra Pradesh first. Let's have the projection numbers out, because in Andhra Pradesh the BJP and the TDP together had done extremely well. What do the numbers portend if elections were held today? The NDA is actually increasing, that's why GVL suddenly has a big smile on his face, is increasing its seat share by 3, jumping from 17 to 20. They'd already done really well, while the YSRC of Jagan Reddy is actually coming down from 8 to 5, and the Congress was at 0, stays at 0. Are we seeing possibly, Siddharth, the beginning of the end of the Congress in Andhra Pradesh, a marginalization
You see, we saw that in
of the sort that happened in Tamil Nadu? It becomes a
the
fringe
end
party.
I mean, we saw that in the Lok Sabha election results, quite frankly. And when YSRC also is unable to perform, this tells you that even the Rump Congress, which is what YSRC is, has been completely decimated. Now YSRC may revive, but I can't see how the Congress is going to be able to create space for itself.
Big problem there.
In Andhra Pradesh.
It used to be a bastion, now they're being edged out very quickly. It's happening very fast. Let's come to Telangana, where I would have thought that people would not be happy with the performance of the K. Chandrasekhar Rao government. He's made several mistakes or several missteps over the past few months. His party seems to be doing just fine. The NDA is increasing its tally from 2 to 3, the UPA from 2 to 1, while the TRS of K. Chandrasekhar Rao is actually going up from 10 to 11. So you might believe that the nativity survey is bad, you might believe that he hasn't been able to govern, that his mind is not in administration, but so far his honeymoon period carries on.
I think he is keeping the passions high, even I think 3 months after the effective division of the state, and that's possibly explains his current. But I think it will be difficult for him to sustain it, because over the next 2 to 3 years, it will be his performance which has so far been rated very poorly. It will be his performance which will really determine what is the future of different parties in Telangana. But passions, keeping passions alive, has possibly worked for him for some time.
But
sooner or later, he has to deliver.
The people of Telangana seem to think his performance is okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You are saying it's poor.
No. You can keep up the passions for a few months. Eventually, you have to deliver. If there is no delivery,
no. But when we said this about
the
national figures and Mr. Modi, you seem to disagree.
Okay.